It started out as an ugly rash. My name's Tava. I was investigating a strange series of deaths that seemed to be related to some sort of cult, high society types, a big scandal, masked lord involved or some such. I knew better than to ask the wrong sort of questions. The bodies were all perfectly flayed alive. Obviously, this was some sort of new magic. No blade could have cut the skin so perfectly from the bodies of these people without spilling a lot of blood. But there they were, twisted and wretched to look at, their leering teeth and wide-open eyes. I've no idea what their expression would have been, but they all look like they've very much died in absolute agony. And as the investigation got deeper and deeper into this mess, and the horrible, crazed thing these people were doing before they died, things by all accounts completely out of character to most, but unfortunately not all of them, I was at the 5th murder scene when I first felt the numb sensation and saw the first sign of the rash on the back of my arm. For each of these bodies, no sign was found of the skin taken off them until the first piece of that puzzle dropped into place. Some street urchins saw a drunk rolling around in a muck in the alley behind a bar. Sounded like he was choking on some food, they said. Then the kids saw it, some leathery thing on him, wrapped around his neck. The man, well, he died right there. Those urchins were no heroes. And they saw that leather get up, flat as a sheet, and walk off. And they swore by all the gods it was the shape of a person with hair and eye holes and everything. 10 years on these Waterdavian streets, and I've seen a lot of things, so I took my notes and waited for the next bit of the puzzle to drop. The rash on my arm got worse. I got some cream for it. Didn't seem to help. I found one of the skins 2 nights later, what was left of it, rotten and rat-chewed, found in the gutter. Some lowlife trying to sell it to the City Watch got a good clip around the ears for his troubles. He stayed for some uncomfortable questions, but was not much help. The skin was from the first victim, we thought. The hair seemed to match, and there could have been a tattoo or part of it left. Real nasty that one was. My gut told me he was into something pretty dark, one of those types that gets the rich dandies all caught up in robes and chants and orgies and party masks until something like this happens. Because one of them chants and stupid play acts turns out to be the real deal. Well, this one got what he probably deserved. What we found in his attic? They didn't deserve any of that. Hells, I didn't even deserve to see it. I couldn't feel anything on my arm then, not unless I pressed real hard, enough to feel it deep down. It made life pretty tricky. Those damn creams didn't work, so I went to see some holy folks at the Temple of the Morning Lord. They seemed to think I was made out of money. How much do they think this watch pays us, guys? Not enough for that. No sleep for me, those damn dreams. Seeing what was in that attic, lots of leering faces, nose holes and teeth, and that choked man's tongue hanging out. Him reaching out for me and waking up on the floor in a flop sweat. This rash is making me sick. I better go see the bookies. If I can't work, who knows how many will die. I'm close to something. I found a book, and my friend Owl's downstairs. He said it's where the chants came from. It was old, real old. From the Far East, old empire stuff. He picked out one word for me, Sletch. Might be a demon or something, I hope not. This might be a case for the robes. I'll go and see them if I can get out of bed. I can't feel my legs very well. Hard to write. All numb, feels like my skin is dead. I got a real bad notion I don't want to think about. So tired and sick. Owls can hear me screaming at night and I don't remember why. He brought me some food, didn't want to look at me, said he was going to go and get a priest, but they know I can't pay, and Owls turns all his gold into drink. If you can find this, bury me proper. I have family in Luskin. Tell them I'm gone, but don't tell them how. I know what this is. I looked in the mirror and my skin looked back at me. It hurts so much. Every time it moves. I know now. Those people would do anything not to feel that pain. Anything. It won't let me move. It knows. Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monstercology and strategy videos on my channel. If you like what I do, please consider backing me on Patreon and subscribing to me here as I upload at least twice a week. And this is my Halloween special, a homebrew monster just for you. The Sletch is possibly one of the worst monsters I've ever thought up. It's simple enough. What if a demon was only strong enough to possess a person's skin? Basically a demonic infection or fungus that spreads slowly but inexorably all over the victim until one day They are essentially wearing a demon suit made of their own skin. This is the Sletch. The Sletch is barely known, even to the most studious and daring of sages, because it is one of the least known and most rarely seen of all the Loumara demons. And there is some confusion over exactly what the Loumara are. So first, a bit of abyssal history and the story of the death of an entire pantheon of gods. There exists a layer of the abyss called the Dreaming Gulf. According to Wizards of the Coast, this is layer number 230. It has no known ruler, light gravity. It is an infinite plane, rich in positive energy, though strongly chaotic, particularly with wild magic, and the entire plane is evil aligned. And I quote, "In the history of the multiverse, countless material worlds have lived only to die in some magical cataclysm, impact, event, or unstoppable disease. So too have entire pantheons risen and fallen, their divine bodies floating in the void of the astral plane, as the last monument to their august accomplishments. But what would happen if a portion of these deities' minds remained forever locked in an eternity of dormancy on the astral? Would they dream? There can be no other explanation for the Dreaming Gulf, the phantasmagoric 230th layer of the abyss, a gulf of wind and darkness in which float what can only be described as the cast-off dreams of a dead pantheon of evil gods. The abyss has been trying to digest these dreams for eons, and it can only do so by breaking off small parts and eating them in tiny bite-sized chunks. Once the abyss digests these fragments of dreams, what it excretes out into the layers of the material plane are the Loumara demons. As yet, relatively few Loumaras have been catalogued by the Fraternity of Order, but explorers are urged to protect themselves against possession in all its forms, for such is the chosen weapon of the Loumaras. Dragon Magazine issue 359, September 2007, states that each of the known breeds of Loumara may be derived from a different dead god's corrupt portfolio, cast-off waste products of a dead god's memories and dreams. The legend goes, many centuries ago, but still recently by the standards of the ancient abyss, a pantheon of gods attempted to destroy the abyss, targeting one layer. They struck out with their combined might, and it looked like they were successful, but then the abyss demonstrated clearly that it is far more terrible than just a matter of physics and magic. It is actually something of an entity, and it has a kind of will of its own. The forgotten pantheon was struck down, and the Dreaming Gulf is where the abyss is slowly digesting them. Some sources say the pantheon was evil, others say that the abyss is corrupting their goodness and creating the evil Loumara demons as a sort of mockery of the original intent of each god's portfolio, goals and desires. A final insult added to their fatal injuries, like the abyss has made a truly horrific example of those who would think to test its power. It was the Prince of Demons, Demogorgon, who orchestrated this entire situation. But personally, I don't think he had any idea at the time what the end result would be. He baited the territorial pantheon into destroying the domain, the abyssal layer, owned by one of his rivals. The angry gods ripped an entire layer free of the abyss, and that is when the abyss lashed back with devastating effect. Loumara have no material form in their normal state. As incorporeal creatures, they can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, and they will take 1d10 force damage if they ever end their turn while still inside an object. The exception is when they have taken possession of that object. The nature of these possessions are the defining traits of each type of Loumara. The Debuk is believed to have been born from the dreams or nightmares of dead goddesses of love and art. They resemble, in immaterial form, a horrid jellyfish with a simply sketched humanoid face visible on it. They delight in taking possession of and control of dead bodies. They then plunge into gross and unrestrained hedonism until that body is completely ruined, and they leave it to go find or create another by means of murder. The Gyurkapus come from the dreams of a god of law and peace. They seem obsessed with the meaning hidden in patterns of their killings, which sounds insane because it is insane. In their immaterial form, they look like a mass of roiling vapor and have the ability to possess and control only sleeping humanoids. Once in control, Gyurkapus would ride silently, which would eventually begin to kill people, especially the victim's family and friends, while the victim was sleeping and thus unaware it was them doing all of the horrible murder. Caligrostos, corrupted demons formed from the dreams and memories of a god of friendship and family, are considered the most sadistic of the Loumara demons, capable of possessing weapons, favouring slashing kinds, enhancing such weapons with magic. At first, it's too weak to do more than inhabit the weapon and telepathically communicate with anyone who picks it up. But once that weapon has caused damage, the Caligrosto can manifest, appearing as an incorporeal, mist-shrouded figure who seems to be wielding the weapon, which is actually being moved around telekinetically by the demon. The Manitau are born from the corrupted dreams of goddesses of nature and fertility and appear as tangled vines, each one tipped with a fanged maw. They can possess any plant, animal, or fae, but in their incorporeal form they have potent telekinetic powers, much stronger than any poltergeist, and can literally tear apart the world around them, looking like a mass of ghostly tendrils in a maelstrom of destruction. Though they do prefer to possess creatures of nature such as dryads and treants for their own wicked enjoyment. The Sletch is similar in that as a natural form is an incorporeal entity, born from the dreams and memories of a god of healing. It manifests as pain, contagion, and vile cruelty. It revels in the suffering of the living and has a complete and obsessive fascination with pain, both physical and mental. It seeks to study every facet of it, cause every kind of torment, and master each and every one. Its natural form looks like a ghost of a stain or infection, a bubbling smear, a dirty pool of slime that has a roughly humanoid face that it can appear in it, leering. It looks like a moving and shifting layer of disease and rot that slides over any surface. Something of a limitation that has kept it contained to the dreaming god for a long time is its inability to fly. It is able to possess the surface of a thing, and this includes most horribly the skin of living creatures. The first appearance of these demons occurred in the Nine Hells, as the sickening torture cells of the chain devils allowed a Sletch to make contact with one of the chitin devils, making a bargain in exchange for its services as an instrument of torture. This worked out fine, a very well kept secret, but eventually, thanks to the machinations of the evil demon, word of how to summon others of its kind made its way from the Nine Hells to the information markets of Hades, where greedy and merciless hags traded this bit of juicy lore for more personal power, and from there, eventually, it made its way to the material plane, and the feverish and ill-advised studies of power-hungry diabolists, leaders of cults who seek out evil powers for bargains and forbidden knowledge. Once the ritual to summon them to the material plane was used, the Sletch made very sure such information was recorded down and left for others to find. Outside of a host body, a Sletch's presence is unnerving and disgusting. Any living creature within 60 feet of a Sletch in its natural form must succeed on a DC 15 wisdom save or be sickened for as long as it remains in that area. Also, food will spoil and rot twice as fast in this malevolent aura. If the Sletch can manage to occupy the same space as a creature with any sort of open wound or a healing wound, any break to their skin, it can attempt to possess that creature's skin. The victim must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw, and from then on, it's as if they'd contracted a serious virulent skin disease of some kind that appears like a very nasty rash with a lack of all feeling from the skin around it. The victim becomes poisoned until the mysterious disease is cured. Every 24 hours that elapse, the target must repeat the saving throw, reducing its hit point maximum by 1d10 on a failure. The disease is cured on its success and the Sletch is expelled from the body. Otherwise, the target loses all control of its skin if the disease reduces its hit point maximum to 0, in which case the Sletch has the ability now to peel itself off the victim's body, causing excruciating agony. This gradual reduction to a victim's hit point maximum lasts until the disease is cured, but without the Sletch telepathically communicating with the victim, they have no way to know that this is no ordinary illness, and they should be seeking out an exorcism, not a spell to remove disease. There is a chance that they can survive this, but it is truly terrible. Essentially, the Sletch will seek to force the victim to do its bidding, murdering their own friends and family, ruining their life, and if the victim does not comply, they will remove the skin and now possess, wearing it like a suit of armor, and the victim is now flayed alive, which is normally a slow and utterly cruel way to die. However, if they can get a powerful restoration spell cast on them, they can have their skin replaced and survive. A slim chance. The stats for the Sletch are exactly the same as the Ghost stat block, except for the following. It can't fly. It has a movement rate of 20 feet per round. It can't jump either, but can travel over any surface. It has dark vision and tremor sense and telepathy out to 120 feet. It has damage resistance, taking half damage from acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. It is totally immune to poison and disease, and immune to being charmed, exhausted, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, knocked prone, or being restrained. Its passive perception is 14, and it has innate spellcasting when incorporeal. It can cast Dimension Door and Fear once per day. While in possession of a skin suit, on or off the victim, it can cast Mage Hand at will and cast Telekinesis once per day, along with its other spells. Its innate spellcasting ability is Charisma, spell save DC 12, and it needs no material components. When in skin form, they do have a physical form of attack, which is +7 to hit. One target will receive 2d8 +4 necrotic damage. If the target is a creature, its hit point maximum is also reduced by 1d6, and the Sletch regains half that amount to its own hit points, draining vitality from the creature. This reduction lasts until the target finishes a short or long rest. The target dies if this effect reduces its hit point maximum to 0. The Sletch can automatically inflict this damage each round if it has managed to grapple and restrain the victim, though its skin form only has a strength of 7. It will seek a way to pin the victim under objects thrown onto them using its telekinesis. Sletch can be forced out of the skin suit if it loses 2/3 of its hit points, and it is only when expelled from the skin that it can be destroyed, its essence returning back to the abyss. While these rules for how to possess its victim seem difficult for the Sletch, this only applies to attacks on player characters. How it behaves with non-player characters is entirely up to you. While it can possess a humanoid skin and walk around in it like a suit of animated armor, the skin is dead and will quickly lose any lifelike appearance, eventually rotting away and becoming unsuitable to contain the Sletch. They also have to speak using telepathy, as they don't have lungs or vocal cords or mouth parts with which to form words. They can appear to eat and drink, and may with difficulty appear to pass as a living humanoid, but they have no eyes, no teeth, just openings into their hollow interior. I shall now leave you to contemplate all the things you can do in your games with a creature like the Sletch. Happy Halloween, everyone. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and all the full scripts for these videos, buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.